So like definitely my first impression right now as for like the current act of like San Dion, like basically tying like the Squid Game, green Squid Game uniform around like the all around like the waist of like the old man like like that. This is like how my first impression personally only something like the old man signature would definitely be San Dion's father. Number two, I think that definitely this act of that Sangyeon would have a lot of importance and relevance to Sangyeon's life, to Sangyeon, specifically to Sangyeon's childhood, especially my pension. Because like my brother written that like the old man dementia back when uh, back when he was young, during his younger days, back when like Sangyeon was like only a child like back then like and I'm still thinking to myself that like back when Sangyeon was like a child and was like playing all the childhood school games like in that playground like at that point like the first person who basically gave all that like star triangle and all this like soft umbrella shape like all that shape like the first person who was like making that like honeycomb like dessert for like Sangyeon and all those children were that that person might who was like wearing the cap might have definitely been like the Sangyeon's father in disguise, especially my impression. Uh, so like the my impression that like back then in that playground, like one day like Sangyeon might have totally had the same situation as like the old man that's in right now is having. And back then, like I was thinking what like Sanjun's father, like he might have done back then, might have been, he might have precisely tied up the very same manner, like he might have tied up like clothes around like Sangyon's waist as well, back when like Sangyon was a child. That's definitely my personal impression. So like it will be definitely in that memory that like Sangyon was able to like right now quickly act and basically tie that that green suit uniform around like the old man with dementia around his waist. It's definitely my personal impression. This might have like shocked like the old man with like dementia precisely because of like not just shock but like his memories of his like of his younger days when he had tied this like clothes around like Sangyeon's like waist like back in the Christian path like he might have that memory might have kicked in. It's definitely my personal impression. So like luckily like the impression right now as for like right now as for like the display like the bodies of like the lot of Squid Game candidates as well as like the few Squid Game workers as well as like the dramatic announcement about like changing happening about like them not wanting like the fair ideology of like the games like the Squid Games to not get tainted and all that like I'm going to bring like all that announcement and dramatic announcement and everything to be like actually totally fake and was referring like there to be like absolutely no genuinity in that announcement about like the fair ideologies of like the school game and everything. It's definitely my very impression. Like I'm referring like through the like public through the like display of like the dead bodies, like the intent of like the front man as well as like the person running the school game would be to like precisely to be on top of that that being like a warning to like not just like the student candidates but also like the student workers to like not attempt to like break the rules of like the student building but like it wouldn't just be that alone like it would also be like to basically give that feeling as if like actually like the students are like fair and literally to that trick and something like all the remaining student candidates that basically they are all getting like fair and equal chance. So basically if they play well like they will be able to like go home with that go home with that huge amount of money and all that like to totally give such a false hope to like the skin game candidates to be like one other Indian development and also to like so that like that way like basically so that like the remaining skin game candidates won't be like they all of them won't team up and decide to like collectively team up and basically uh like the inductive so that like to prevent like the inductive like the remaining skin game candidates like collectively teaming up and trying to like collectively attacking and trying to bring down like all the Squid Game workers and basically so that like they won't try to like forcefully steal all that money from like the glass piggy bank It also would be like a secret intent behind like this like repeated like thing about this like announcement and like a dramatic announcement about like students being fair and everything. Definitely, I would personally and this would be all with that intent that basically so that like the student candidate would be like remaining divided and selfish and would be like so that like they will be totally playing each of their games Squid Game leading up to like the sixth Squid Game, and so that like only one among them would be like eventually, and so that like one among them would eventually end up being like the winner and completing like the sixth Squid Game and end up being like the winner and would be receiving all that huge quantity of money like the last piggy bank. Yeah, and then my personal impression that like especially with my personal impression that like especially with like just now like it was like John Ho checking like the registry like the book detailing like from 1990 man I think like to 2020 as for like all the list of players in like all the game like the fact that there is only a single winner for each year like my personal impression that like so like the scenario might be that each and every single year when like this game will be taking place like in like the six good game like no matter how many good game candidates will be like uh, participating in like the good game like even regardless like I'm playing like the only one good game candidate among them to like finish first will be straight away considered as like the winner, the only person as like the winner and like instantly at that point the bump of the like the remaining good game was the like regardless of whether they complete like the good game will be like most likely taken the life of by like the good game workers at that point itself is like what might be like the scenarios also that you might and then that single Squid Game candidate who had won totally at that point winning all that huge quantity of money would be from that point on would be like appropriately monitored, would be like let out of like, the Squid Game building and Squid Game Island and brought back to like the city, yet like he would be secretly monitored by the whole team of like by the people by the men of like the person running like the Squid Game and he will be like most likely using documents to like basically ensure that basically to somehow like ensure that basically to get back that money from that single Squid Game winner each year would be what might have been happening since like 1999 is certainly that was each year there being like a single winner and him gaining all that money yet like him like eventually ending up losing all that money due to like the influence and like due to like the influence of like the person running and like the power and everything of that like the person running lives could will do positive like I'm referring to will be able to like ensure that basically even if like that like the person each year who wins like the Squid Game each year like eventually ends up losing all that money and so like that way in like the stealthy manner like the person running like the Squid Game would be like ensuring that each year like the winner eventually ends up losing all that money and basically it would be like the person running like the Sicilian would be like a billionaire like it would be like his man like stealing back all that money and bringing it back to like the person running like the Sicilian and it would be that very same money that would be like seen by each of like the Sicilian candidates each year of like 1999 in like the glass piggy bank. It's definitely my personal impression. So like this would be that absolute truth behind like the true unfairness behind like how like the Indians will be conducted. It's definitely my personal impression. So like my personal impression as for like my reason as for my personal impression that I'm considering as for like the announcement right now being made up for like the ideologies of like this game being like about like all about like fair game like all that would be like an absolute like is like an my personal impression. So just simply my personal impression that like even though John Post product info right now has been revealed to be like the 2015 Squid Game winner still Amber Bring like he might have gained all that money after winning like the Squid Game yet like Amber Bring still exactly like how like Sang Yeon had basically lost like his job that he had maintained for like a decade as well as like Sangwoo as well being like such career wise having such growth yet like eventually ending up being such growth extremely desperate and like basically in all this happening like in like Sangyeon, Sangwoo as well as like the old man within ending up being so extremely but definitely there might have definitely like the play and like the work of the person running the Squid Game behind it. So basically my personal impression that like in a similar manner, like even in for myself shortly, like due to like the trickery of like the person running like Squid Game and the person like even though info might have made won like the Squid Game and made all that money in like the 20 at like during 2015, like he might have totally like had this like money stolen and like eventually and bring like might have like absolutely no idea at all as for like the possibility of like the person running like the who ran like the Squid Game possibly having to do with like his money getting stolen. That's definitely my birthday memory. So like this is my birthday memory and that way like basically info might have most likely in like the 2020 Squid Game, like in that the red light, green light of Squid Game, like I'm looking like in home might have definitely been present among like the great number of Squid Game among like the initial positive Squid Game candidates in like the 2020 year that played like the red light, green light game, like definitely info might have been present, but like after like after like the majority voting, like the and in home I don't only want the like green light game and after through like the majority voting one like the remaining surviving candidates have left like the initially left like the Squid building like at that point like basically those few Squid candidates that were used to like return back like one of them might have definitely been in home definitely my friend so like info would be definitely right now still in the city it's definitely might have the reimbursement like definitely not the I'm position right now with like I said like my person friends in like right now with like the phone bringing like I'm doing right now with like Janho like picking up the call but like I'm doing straight away Janho won't be speaking at all. It's like the scenario that I'm going to bring and Janho will be like picking up the receiver and straight away like it will be definitely sitting to my person impression that it will be precisely from like the boss who's like running like this good game. He might have called like the front man to like give some sort of a specific order. Especially when the brim, so like definitely like I'm putting like Jampo just holding the receiver while like it would be preferably like the boss who's like running like the stadium. We would be like the preferred person that would be like doing all the talking straight away. That's definitely my preparation through that for talk from him like I'm looking like Janko would be shockingly finding out about like the about what the thing Janho would be shockingly finding out especially since like Janho is like a police officer like I'm looking Janho might be totally expecting some sort of like an of like the Squid Game being like uh, definitely that's the possibility of like Squid Game not being fair sitting around the perimeter but like I'm looking that possibility would be like totally being confirmed precisely uh, right now is like the scenario that I'm looking at from what like the boss would be right now saying through the phone and whispering that Janko like finding out that basically what kind of like a bit of details as to like what might have happened to Info after like winning like the 2015 Squid Game. It's definitely my concern. So like I'm going through this phone call right now. I'm looking like Janko solely finding out that basically so that the money, the huge quantity of money that like Info made after like winning like the Squid Game in like 2015 was precisely like even after that like Info got tricked and basically his money was like precisely stolen by this very same person who's like talking through the phone who's like running like the Squid Game. Like still critical information I'm just bringing right now for like Janko to find out right now. It's definitely that like the Squid Game is like such a trap and like and it's like totally and absolutely unfair. It's like that confirmation like I'm looking right now to for like Jumbo to have to get right now through like what like the boss who's like running this Squid Game will be saying through like the telephone right now. It's definitely a scenario that I'm looking again as a dream. Cinema was the repression that basically that other good game worker that basically Jumpo has taken the life of Naskin, basically revealing that secret passageway was meant for like the VIPs to like escape like the element of repression that like so there would be like within this huge Squid Game building like there would definitely be like a secret specific room or like a location where like just for like the VIPs and I'm thinking the VIPs would be like uh, maybe like billionaires from like all over the world definitely would be like gathering up to the successful game island, and they might have been doing that since like 1991. It's definitely my impression. So for them to like escape would be like this precise passageway. Definitely my difference. Then there will be also like that separate billionaire who's like the person would be like the person to whom like the like island as well as like this studio building as well as like he would be like the precise billionaire person who would be like running like the studio. Exactly my information. While like other VIPs would be like the other billionaires from all over the world who would be like only paying him to basically watch like this game every year. It's definitely my personal impression. So for them to escape would be that passage. It's definitely my personal impression. So also my personal impression is that like definitely that right now like Jungho infiltrating into like all the way into like even like the frontman room. Like I'm also still sits like the except for like the VIPs, like after like the sits like after like the VIPs, it's like the front man that's like that will be most likely the person with like the highest authority within like the entire the Squid Game building. I'm also trying because of solely due to like the reason I'm also trying like the front man room definitely won't be CCTV monster at all. Definitely my personal impression. Live up a very ambitious definitely for like John Post will actually eventually find out like whom, uh, whom all exactly the VIPs are. And like Campbell Clifford, like eventually at that point when John Post finds that out, like Campbell Clifford definitely for like John Post to be definitely mind blown and shocked because like Campbell Clifford in the world of like the Squid Game web series and those different like it would be like popular figures from all over like the world in like the web series Squid Game. That Campbell Clifford would be like would be like the precise PIPs. It's definitely my preference. So like Janko eventually finding that out and basically at that point Janko being like totally mind blown like the scenario because like I'm preferring like the VIPs would be like people that basically Janko would like never would have never been expected to be those people never even in like the back of like Janko's mind at all. It's like the scenario that I'm preferring. So like eventually while Janko will be finding that out like Janko and the point to be like totally an extremely shocked and mind blown. It's like the win scenario that I'm looking again. I'm looking. Also, my question to reaction is that like at that point I was looking maybe like Janko even thinking along the lines of like these VIPs are much powerful figures that basically Janko would be like totally at that point feeling as if like basically uh, like executing them but like executing them by Janko himself is like the only way to to for example to even be able to like do anything against them. Especially my top promotion, Jang Ho be feeling that like Jang Ho be like powerless to proceed in any other manner other than taking them down himself. Like basically, I'm considering Jang Ho eventually singing along such lines like experience the scenario that I'm considering, and I'm considering maybe it will be during that attempt eventually during Jang Ho's attempt to like basically take the life of like the VIP. Maybe like Jungho would be like as Jungho would be like attempting at to trying to do that. That would be when to be maybe probably like like things starting to like totally backfire on Jungho and basically like Jungho totally most likely I'm going to would be like facing that most likely by the hand of that the front man. Like I'm just going most likely at that point it would be like the front man that all of a sudden will be showing up when Jungho would be least expecting and then considering like but like at that point, like Janko will be like would have that most likely point of it that on like the VIP plan. Like at that point, like I'm just maybe like the front man showing up from behind and basically taking the life of that Janko. It's like about believing the scenario that I'm just overthrowing another thing. They are taking the impression right now as for like the fourth Squid game that needs to be played in like the team of two. Like I'm just playing like in the case of Sang Gion, I'm definitely putting like it would be like the team of Sangyeon as well as like the old man with dementia. And I'm definitely protecting in like the fourth again definitely for like the dementia effects of like the old man with like dementia, like eating in midway during like the fourth game like the scenario that I'm pursuing. Yet like I'm pursuing Sangyeon like totally helping out like the seriously putting in all that effort and like especially helping out like the old man thing and shapen at that point and basically that way like due to like Sangyeon at that point I'm looking like coming out some sort of like a brilliant strategy and using that able to bring like Sangyeon like basically ensuring like even with like the initiative happening for like the whole match midway between like the game, which is like the fourth still game, it's like the scenario that I'm doing yet like I'm doing like Sangyeon using it just like strategy like basically ensuring that uh not just him but like the old man with dementia as well like his both of them survives like the sports game like basically Sangyeon making that happen. It's like the eventual scenario that I'm looking at definitely for like in the case of like Sangwoo definitely I'm also bring it would be like the name of like Sangwoo and Ali. And in the case of like Soviet, like I'm going to bring it to the Soviet and like the other girl. It's like them two will be like the team, but like the scenario that I'm using. Definitely protecting like both members of like Sangyeon's team as well as Sangwoo's team as well as like Seryok's team would be like especially surviving and winning like the fourth billion, like the definite scenario that I'm looking. So like my definitely impression for like at that point for like the woman who initially had like the crush on DXO, like basically like her deep down still you'll be having that upset feelings towards like DXO. It's definitely my personal impression. That coupled with like definitely uh from like Sanjun and their whole team that like played like the third game of like the tug of war, like among like the remaining team members in like Sanjun's teams in that tug of war. I'm considering like definitely like this woman considering her to like not want to like team up with those remaining members of like Sanjun's team who played during in like the tug of war, especially members of members. So like I'm considering like the scenario that I'm considering is like also especially right now on top of that, Sun Young's like earlier dialogue before like which prevented like the second species to game from happening. That words of like Sun Young that basically created that absolute insecurity and loss of trust from TF2 towards his own team members. Like I'm considering like maybe that being like a major fact in like and especially right now with like DF2 already being right now being in like such an extremely insecure and vulnerable situation that's like the doctor dying and basically like DXO right now having absolutely no idea to like what the court opinion is like I'm considering like since like collectively like DXO is in such like kind of like a disturbed and vulnerable situation like I'm considering maybe right now DXO I'm considering like totally seeing that woman as like the only person that in like the current situation that DXO can trust and DXO I'm considering not like even thinking along the lines that basically like not only that he will be able to like fully trust her but like also that basically uh, and they should be totally thinking of like putting on a fake act as if like once again like putting on a fake act as if like he still loves her and basically I'm possibly there to be like totally thinking that like if he does that basically she will still will be coming back to like there to be along the line there to be thinking so like I'm possibly like there and there to I'm possibly to do exactly that and I'm possibly like that woman ending up once again for like definitely for like the current for Indian I'm most likely praying for like her to like to like get her to like team up something to like the scenario that I'm going to run. And the intent would be like not just the trust factor but also they also having his intent to like basically take advantage of her love to like basically have her like no matter how risky like the second no matter how risky and dangerous like the fourth game is like they should be totally also thinking that basically she should like sort of he would be totally planning on taking advantage of like the love she has for the to like basically make her take the riskiest no matter what happens like to make her to like the most riskiest thing in like the fourth Squid Game so that like and to totally take advantage of that for like the access in the fourth Squid Game might be like they have to like plan. It's also like a possibility that I'm everything. So like my personal theory of prediction right now is definitely for like the possibility of like for like the fourth Squid Game like they are so totally getting that woman to like team up with like they are so like and they and that woman being like the pair for that for like the fourth William is like the scenario. Which is the scenario that I'm going to bring I'm able to predict. So here was the brain right now as for like the jump hole like right now not being able to call like the precise numbers like 112 as well as 119 from like the phone and like from men's room like I'm like it would be precisely consciously that phone would have would have totally been worked on. That telephone would have been totally worked on in such a manner to like ensure that absolutely to foreseeing like the possibility that like even if like any William candidate like manages to like escape and uh, even succeeds in getting into like the frontman's home and tries to like use that phone to call like the emergency numbers, like it definitely won't be happening. So like that phone might have been totally worked on in and switched up in such a manner to ensure that like the emergency number won't dial. And I'm considering it's just simply it won't be like the emergency numbers alone. Like I'm considering like and I'm considering like it will be most likely only like the number of like the boss, like the person who's like running like the games alone, that would be like dialable. It's definitely my consideration. It would be like that telephone would be like manipulated and worked on in such a manner that basically would be such a telephone that basically only calls from like the boss, suppose like running like the Squid Game to like the frontman and like the frontman to call the boss, like only that call between like the boss and like the frontman alone would be possible for that phone. It's definitely my consideration. So precisely because of the reason I'm considering like that, the possibility of like also that basically that phone as well, like while cutting off all the remaining numbers, like uh, ability to possibly cutting off all the ability to call like the dial like the remaining numbers. On top of that, like I'm considering if any other number it's like dial like basically instantly, like I'm considering maybe like an alert as well would be like going either to like the boss or like the front man. It's also like a possibility that I'm considering. So if anyone seems like it would be most likely a phone that's like intended only for like the front man alone to like use. So like for like calls between just like the front man and the boss and like the boss and like the front man alone. So like there will be that hidden alert system for the things in that press telephone where like if any other number is even dialed like instantly like an alert would be most likely going to like the boss as well as like the front man. So that's definitely my totally reimbursed. So like somehow like I'm considering like maybe like the front man will be wearing some sort of like a gadget uh, to which like maybe that the alert will be somehow going or like I'm assuming like the alert would be like totally happening like especially somewhere like it would be like a silent alert maybe like happening somewhere in like within like the Squid Game building. It's also like a possibility that I'm assuming or like I'm assuming it would be a direct alert that will be going to like the first location within like the Squid Game building where like that secret location where like all the VIPs would be like where like the boss like not to the axis where like the boss is like running the game would be. It's also like a possibility that I'm looking. So like right now, but basically right now it's like jump for dialing 112 and 119 numbers, bring like straight away like I'm putting in the possibility of like the alert totally hadn't gone to like possibly both like the boss as well as like the boss is running like the game as well as the frontman. Definitely my impression. So like I'm wondering solely due to the current act of like dialing the two numbers and considering like more trouble, possibly heading to like some sort of way, like the scenario that I'm looking for, and maybe like I was looking like this act of like jump for even dialing in like the 112 and 119 would be like what even right now without much delay itself like will be bringing like the frontman back into like the room of the frontman again, and like the frontman even finding out about like the that person who had taken the life of that Indian worker and was like totally gone missing. Like basically that person have made it all the way to like the front man room as well. Like the front man realizing that through at that point it's like also like a possibility that I'm looking for a good friend. Like the film of the reimbursement right now as for like they so right now teaming up with like I'm making a pair with like one of its own team member, male team members. Like I'm also definitely right now my first reimbursement is definitely but like right now like that male team member right now being so extremely happy that we got to he would be definitely happy with like getting to be chosen by precisely DXO, like who would be like only considered by like by now by everyone for the candidates as like the strongest good game player. It's definitely my good impression. So like basically he would be like totally feeling that he like the first person that DXO has chosen like his team member like the other person like Amber that guy would be right now totally feeling lucky, but like Amber once like the fourth game begins like Amber definitely in the fourth game Amber definitely like I'm considering, and I'm just thinking to my first impression that even with right now Sangyeon showing an extreme hesitancy to that pair of team up with the old man with dementia. I'm considering definitely Sangwoo right now would Sangyeon and I'm considering Sangyeon right now would be deep down eventually by the time the 10 minute would be over I'm considering by then Sangyeon wouldn't have formed any team. And I'm considering maybe Sang will be having that guilt definitely within him of basically him rejecting not rejecting but him totally deciding not to select him totally ignoring the old man with dementia basically that guilt considering to totally cause Sang beyond to totally waste almost the entirety of the 10 minute time and I'm also saying by the time the 10 minute would be over, I'm also saying saying you straight away saying straight away going up to deciding to sail with it and I'm also saying Sang straight away picking the old man with dementia as to pair for the host Indians to play the host Indian is definitely my representation. But as for the and I'm definitely putting the host Indian I'm also bring it to be in such a good game that they believe uh, where I'm considering most likely in order to win that good game I'm considering it will be easier among the pair one to trace the other I'm considering it will be easier to win that good game. It's about to do that I'm considering and if the two of the if the pairs work in with that absolute teamwork I'm considering the game would be even harder to complete I'm considering it to be that kind of a game especially when the so I'm considering among the studio candidates, a bunch of them totally betraying each other, among the pairs, multiple pairs, a bunch of them betraying each other and basically being able to get further in that hopeful game is the scenario that I'm observing. While I'm focusing safely, Sangu and Ali, Ali definitely won't be at all betraying anyone, but I'm observing even Sangu as well, not decided not to at all betray Ali and work even though it would be I'm observing for to be hard while playing as that routine, but I'm observing still Sangu was still deciding not to betray Ali. So it is Sangu seeing Ali as best chance of being able to get part of to be able to get part of to be able to complete this all six games certainly member brings it to complete all six games I'm going to bring Sangu would be only to think that basically he would definitely need Ali person so he would definitely need Ali person so the along the line Sangu would be things so certainly because of that I'm going to bring Sangu as well deciding to work as a team with Ali and not to betray Ali is the scenario that I'm going to bring in the case of Sun, Gion, and the old man with dementia, I'm considering when the game rules would be revealed and since upon the considering for example considering totally betraying the team member would be giving that advantage in that for game is the scenario that I'm considering so that creates that extreme temptation for Sun Gion to totally betray the old man with dementia so that he could have a chance of basically completing the first game. And I was thinking as the first game then begins I'm considering Sangyeon scene would be I'm considering the last is the scenario that I'm would be at last questions with me would be performing the work among all the remaining players is definitely my impression. So at that point I'm considering the situation and the pressure totally pushing Sangyeon to and tempting Sangyong to only betray the four old men Tunisia so that he could win and that will survive the first billion is the scenario that I'm going so I was bring that pressure totally kicking in and basically Sangyong being tempted to betray the old man with Tunisia but I'm going to bring in while Sangyong would be almost saying to do exactly that I'm going to be present at that very last second that I'm going to bring the old man with dementia himself talking to Sanjeon mid game and then telling Sanjeon that basically to that betrayed him the old man with dementia himself telling Sanjeon to only to the whole betray society and it's okay if I the old man with dementia telling Sanjeon that that he would gladly die for Sanjeon something along the lines for Sanjeon to not focus on working as a team with the old man, but like I'm bring like Sangyeon, the old man telling Sangyeon to like basically focus on himself and try to like win like the first game by himself, like basically that way to get that advantage for like Sangyeon, so that like Sangyeon could like win, has looking having a better chance of like winning like the first game, while like the old man at that point would be certainly dying. It's like the situation that I'm also suffering. So like what the old man with dementia would be telling Sangyeon to do, but like I'm also at that point is when I'm also suffering like Sangyeon totally deciding finally coming to a description that that even with like extreme disadvantage, like I'm considering like Sangyeon at that point deciding to like basically that basically if he fails to like even if he fails to like complete like the first trillion and right like Sangyeon takes the decision that he rather uh die along with like the old man with like dementia rather than like selfishly like without helping like the old man with dementia like him selfishly winning like the first game rather than that like maybe along the lines some was bring like Sangyeon coming to the decision. So like I was with Sangyeon at that point helping like the old man with dementia and playing as like a team. And like I was even though at that point Sangyeon's team with like the old man with dementia will be at like the performing with the work and was bringing Sangyeon at that point like coming up figuring out some sort of strategy at that point of like the scenario that I'm looking and like Sanjon coming up once again was like at that point with some sort of like an out of cover brilliant strategy, which would be totally helpful for like the old man dementia as well. And that way like extremely helpful for like the old man dementia, and that way like the Sanjon that way like uh, overcome the disadvantage and basically that way like Sanjon and like the old man dementia like basically performing like performing way better than until that point, and also bring like them totally like being able to like complete like the course again is like the scenario, eventual scenario that I'm expecting in my opinion. Where like I'm bringing it eventually for like Sangyeon as well as like the old man Shinichi act together because there are good teamwork like basically completing like the first two games and like that way like them both surviving like the first two game as well. It's like the eventual scenario that I'm going to bring. I'm not bring. So it's just about the members in there, for example, to bring like in midway in like the first game, like for example, to bring like Sangyeon to only reach the point where like he would get only tempted to like let go of like the old man, which is experimental and basically him to like basically prioritize his chance of like winning like the first game by himself, like basically still I'm considering at that point, I'm considering Sangyeon to totally have like his memories of the past, like kicking in where like Sangyeon, I think like basically wasn't able to like be there for his like current ex-wife's like pregnancy back when she was Sangyeon's like wife, solely due to like him trying to like help out his like colleague or something. So like I'm considering like Sanjon only having some memories of that. Like and I was like maybe even back then like I was like what might have happened. I don't think like he had died, like that colleague had died. So like I was back then what might have happened. I was might be like Sanjon while trying to help his colleague like still might have been in like a confused state of like Sanjon a whole part of like Sanjon wanting to like see the process like wife's pregnancy at that point. So like I'm considering like that confused state in which like Sanjeon was in might have played a role and a factor in basically like Sanjeon back then possibly not being able to like save his story. It's definitely my preference. So uh, so like and photo my impressions that like basically recently in like Sanjeon's memory where like Sanjeon had basically protested against like Sanjeon like being fired from his work, like basically that one person that had basically died in that whole protest, like that could be like the precise person that like Sanjeon might have been trying to save and maybe had that way like when Sangyeon couldn't show up for his wife's pregnancy, like the sort of birth, like basically back then, like I'm to save the exact person who would have most likely been like Sangyeon's like guardian angel, like best friend of like Sangyeon's definitely would be. So like maybe it might have been to Sangyeon like effort to like save him might have been like the reason for like Sangyeon's not being able to like show up to when it's like profit of its like vice pregnancy, it's definitely mandatory emergency. So definitely, like I'm also bring like when like the current fourth good game, I'm also bringing definitely eventually the current game I'm also repression like that moment to happen where like Sang Yon would totally feeling as if like him letting feeling like him wanting like to get let go of it all man dementia and save himself like uh at that point I was bring all this memory totally kicking in and basically Sang Yon totally at that point possibly even comes to the decision that basically like he basically due to his like confusion, like basically he had basically possibly lost his like friend. He wasn't able to just save his like best friend in the past. So like at least now he needs to like make things right and he needs to like save like the old man with dementia. Maybe like Angyon at that point like having all this memory flashing in and basically uh, before his eyes and was bring like at that point like was bring that possibly being that triggering factor also like also that was bring resulting in like Sanjon deciding to like work as a team with like the old man with image and ensure that like and to do it like absolute best in like trying to complete like the first game as like a team, even though possibly that would be like an extremely disadvantageous thing to do for like the first game, which also like definitely my was very much. So definitely my was very much that like the precise like member like DXO's team that guy who DXO right now have chosen as like pair like the clear specific member that like in the first game like I was definitely for like DXO to like eventually totally betray him and basically to for like DXO to like get like an added advantage in like the fourth game on the person like DXO totally betray him and him that person like definitely dying is like the scenario. In like the fourth game is like the definite scenario that I'm looking and never been able to. Definitely I'm looking like in like the fourth game there will be options for like playing as like playing in teamwork between like the players or like basically betraying like the pairs betraying each other and basically for one among the pair to like get the advantage in like that fourth game. Like I'm considering definitely for like the scenario to be like for there to be something like along the lines in like for like the fourth game. It's definitely my birthday impression. So definitely my birthday impression right now with like the girlfriend's baby of had brought for like the tug of war game like right now her choosing like her wanting like to be in like it's a pair with like baby of like I'm about to like that girl who want to right now be like pair with like baby of like I'm about to like her definitely would be most likely having like a crush on she would definitely be having like a crush on like baby of this definitely my birthday impression. So definitely my birthday impression right now as for like this precise exact Indian candidate who totally be lying to like Sanjon about like everyone wanting to be part of his team, but like impatiently waiting for like San to be like the team of Sanjon. Like basically, like definitely this is ticket to my impression. Like by the time like Sanjon totally being on like the verge of like basically taking the decision to like team up with the game candidate, but like I'm by like the time like the 10 minutes would be almost up. Like I'm looking at that very last moment, like I'm looking like Sanjon, like I'm looking like Sanjon about to give like the shake hands to him, but like I'm looking like uh, right before like at that very last moment before like Sanjon would be giving the shake hand, I'm looking the guilt to be like too much for Sanjon at that point that I'm looking like Sanjon probably telling the other guy that basically no, like he's going to team up with like the old man and basically like Sanju straight away leaving him and basically giving the shake hand to like the old man with him. And yeah, it's like the scenario that I'm considering. And I'm considering like it would be like the precise exact good game candidate to try to best to like basically be part of like to pair up with like Sanju and I'm considering that precise good game candidate would be like the success person that would be like that with like that single one good game candidate who will be getting eliminated, who won't be able to like make the pair and basically who will be getting eliminated straight away. It's like the eventual scenario that I'm also bringing to the so like the Liverpool Korean position right now was like the woman who initially had a crush on DXO being like that one good game candidate to not be able to like form a pair like I'm going to bring her to still not die. It's like the, right now, it's like the scenario that I'm representing. Her still being allowed by most likely I'm considering like it would be. Like maybe I'm going to bring like it will be like since like the VIPs are watching like the game, I'm going to bring like they would be also watching like this whole scene build up like pairing scene as look CCTV as well. It's like the my birthday so like I'm going to bring like them totally being intrigued by like the VIPs being intrigued by that perspective and it's like the scenario that I'm about to so like I'm going to bring the right now not alone not being able to like form a pair like I'm going to bring straight away like the good game of just like right now showing up and like I'm going to bring like them about to take her life, but like I'm going to bring right before that like I'm going to bring them being haunted. Especially because like I'm going to bring at that point like for like the front man to like show up into that room and them being haunted and like the front man straight away most likely telling her that like basically she can play this like forceful game by herself. That's like the scenario that I'm going to bring. So like I'm going to bring like her to like without a pair, even without a pair, like I'm going to bring that her to like play like the forceful game all by herself and her winning like the forceful game is like the scenario that I'm going to bring. And my birthday ambition. That was me my birthday ambition right now for like once again like the forceful game infrastructure reminding like the old man with dementia as well as like Sangion of their childhood. Definitely, my birthday impression it will be definitely because of like definitely like would be probably because of like the boss, like the person running like studio would be definitely would be like the childhood friend of like the old man with dementia. The old man with dementia being Kangjon's father, as well as like the front man would be possibly uh, Sangyeon, as well as Sangwoo, Sangwoo's like childhood friend is definitely my personal impression. So like the boss who's running like William would be like the while would be like the father of like the front man is also like the boss with that and also friend like and like the boss would be like the child friend of like the old man with dementia. Definitely my opinion. So like this would be the precise reason for like all these similarities, all this connection to like the childhood memories of like Sangwoo, Sangyeon, as well as like the old man's to dementia reappearing with like these Squid Games, even with like the second Squid Game as well as like right now in like the fourth Squid Game as well. It's definitely my personal impression. But my personal impression right now is that definitely even right now with like the similarities and connection to like Sangwoo, Sangyeon as well as like the old man dementia, their childhood like and childhood and younger days like keeps repeating like within like the multiple Squid Games like I'm referring like in like the Squid Game as well I'm referring like there have to be like some sort of a connection to like the younger days of like childhood of like childhood days of like Sangu Sangiyon as well as like the organ Demetrius definitely I'm referring so like during the Squid Game like even while and I was wondering if once like the game would be revealed, like at that point I was slowly, like the suspicion slowly starting to like arrive within like possibly Sang Gion as well as like Sang is definitely my book reference for like the good games, these games being conducted, like the good games possibly having some sort of like a connection to to that or like the person running the good game has some sort of a connection to or knowing them, knowing their childhood, like knowing their having some sort of a connection to like the childhood of like Sangi Sangyeon and like the younger days of like the organization would be like uh, and Sangwoo and Sangyeon would be along the lines Sangwoo and Sangyeon would be playing during like the once like the festival game would be triggered at that during like the festival game I'm also trying for it to only the suspicion to only start to like only begin. But like I was telling you precisely once like the game would be revealed and I was running right now definitely I was impression that it would just be Sangyeon but like Sangwoo as well would be making it to like the festival game. And I was wondering once like the Squid Game would be revealed. At that point itself, I'm about to bring like their suspicion, like for things to go from like suspicion to like actual clarity as to like him, like the possibly like the person who's like running like the entirety of like Squid Game would be like basically possibly Sangwoo and Sangyeon precisely when like the Squid Game would be revealed, like them simultaneously and instantly realizing that as they true it's like even the scenario that I'm offering them totally having realizing that like who like most likely realizing at that point itself that as like who would be like the person running like the food game as well as the dangerous food game as well as like why he would be like running like the food game and all that. Them realizing at that point that the team members and that might have been that one kids who might have never been able to like win like the church games, as well as like the tug of war and like the other Squid games that released. The old man with dementia as well had played during his like younger days as well. So these like thing that situation of never being able to win in those like non-serious games that that they all played in like the past, like basically that like happening with both like the person running in Squid Game as well as like his son as well, who they most likely is a front man as well. Then both might have never been able to like win any of those games. And this would be like right now this would be like their way of getting revenge is definitely my opinion. Because like so from like the very beginning, even from 1991, 1999, when like the Chileans had even began, like their ultimate goal might have been just like current situation of like the current Squid Game in like 2020, where like finally they were able to like precisely track and your like their actual true targets, which would be like the old man with dementia as well as Sangu and Sangyo into like the Squid Game. So definitely my information. And but different like until like 2020, they might have been totally putting in all that effort to like endure like all of the all of their actual targets like Sangwoo, Sangyeon, as well as the four man dementia into like Squid Games, definitely memorable. So like they might have only succeeded in it by 2020 is definitely memorable. And that's the reason they might have even started like the Squid Games might be to like get their revenge for like the person running like Squid Game and his son to like get revenge on like Sangwoo, San Jeon, as well as like Rollman, which is definitely my most famous and that I'm still thinking on to. My personal impression that the comedy might have been after like the very first good game was conducted in like back in like 1999, and like it was conducted all the way to like the very end of all the six good games without like the games being interrupted. Like I'm wondering what that was like done at that point might be when like I'm wondering like most likely it might have been not like the son, but like the father. Like it might have not been like the son who would, most likely the front man, but like the father who would be like the childhood friend of like the old man with the chair. It might have been him that might have maybe came up with like just like plan to like basically to basically get VIPs. That basically he might have saw a possibility of like basically the good game being like attracting like in like the world of like the Squid Game web series, like basically attracting the artists from all across the world. Like that, like them possibly being getting paid to for like to allow if they allow like possibility that like in the world of like Squid Game web series, like you can give that VIPs from across like the world, like the possibility of them paying like so much money to them to like just want like the student if they create such a facility like they would be along the lines like that considering like the person running this good game maybe at that point after like conducting like the very first good game and like once like the good game was first good game was like over, maybe it might have been from them that he might have came up with such a plan, and like maybe it might have been from like the second Squid Game that like I'm talking about, like he might have switched up like the Squid Game building and might have made like precise seats and like area secret area within like the Squid Game building for like the VIP guests to like actually see each and every single game. Uh, it's definitely what might have happened is definitely memorable. My good references that like the person running like games even while he had back in like 1999 when he might have or like when he conducted like the very first good game itself, like even back then he might have been like a Indian definitely members of it. So like I'm just like using this like influence like he might have managed uh, to be able to like contact a single VIP. It's definitely initially it's definitely my good language, and he might have told that communicated with that single VIP, and he might have told him about like Squid Games and everything, and like he might have somehow managed to like get that using his influence might have managed to like get that single VIP to like watch like the second Squid Game that took place in like in like 2000. It's definitely one of the So like seeing like the entirety of the Squid Games in like that took place in like the 2000, like it might have been at that point like I'm possible like that single VIP might have been totally shocked, and I'm possible like that VIP might have been such an extreme sadist and villainous person that I'm possible like she might have totally uh, whoever that person is, like he might have, that person might have totally straight away had like a lot of contact to like a lot of other VIPs with like the same mindset, definitely with the members. So like but like see that way like from like it might have been from like the third Squid Game which might have which took place in like 2001 from which like like maybe multiple VIPs even showing up to like the so like in like audience to like basically watch like the Squid Games like that might have been actually started to like started to that play out in like a full scale with like multiple VIPs showing up to the Squid Game building. Like that might have actually began from like the first Squid Game. That's also definitely what might have happened. It's definitely meant to reaction. Definitely going to reaction right now with like the reveal of Gganbu, season meaning like a good friend, like I'm like the persons who died in like the protest in like the Western Park when like Sang Yeon had lost his job in like the Western Park. Like basically that during that protest, like that single person that died might have been back then, might have been definitely Sang Yeon, like Gganbu. It's definitely my good prediction that it might have not just been like Sang Yeon's Gganbu, but like Sang Yeon might have been back then literally calling him Gganbu, and he might have been like also literally calling Sangyeon back Gganbu as well. They might have been calling each other Gganbu back then. Just definitely my big fan. Might have been that from that Gganbu of Sangyeon that might have died in exact protest. And precisely that might have even happened precisely during the while Sangyeon by recognizing so like definitely my good impression right now about like the fourth Squid Game like brigade like and the people definitely in the fourth Squid Game definitely and the people like first of all, in like Sangyeon as well as like the old man, their pair team like I'm also playing the old man with dementia, even though he was the currently I'm possible like the old man with dementia being like even way better a player in like the game of marbles that in any game of marbles than Sangyeon. Even though Sangyeon as well would be like good at like playing the game of marbles, still about the price like the old man with like dementia would be even to the present day would be like way better player than Sanjion supplement the trend. Yet like I'm definitely putting like the old man with dementia to like purposefully lose to like Sanjion. And I'm also putting like Sanjion noticing that and like Sanjion like getting angry with like the old man with dementia to like Sanjion that would be like extremely disturbing Sanjion and Sanjion I'm also telling the old man with dementia to like to play properly and that to give it just everything and basically that the best player win that would be along the line John would be like adamantly like repeatedly telling that the old man with dementia but still I'm also bring like the old man with dementia maybe uh, like initially like putting in like a bit of like show skills but then I'm also bring definitely purposefully like the old man's with like dementia ensuring that he loses and that like John gets all 10 marbles and that way Sangyeon gets to like survive and live and move on to like the next round. It's like the old man dementia like ensuring that happens is like definite scenario that I'm about to bring. And I'm about to bring like the old man with dementia. I'm about to bring like there to be like a lot of interaction between like the old man with dementia and uh, towards like Sangyeon precisely while playing this precise exact master Squid Game. It's definitely I'm about to bring like about to bring like the old man with dementia and not directly telling Sangyeon that that what my book remembers definitely putting like the old man with dementia would be like the father of Sangyeon. Still I'm about to bring like the old man with like dementia him like not telling Sangyeon like directly that he is Sangyeon's father, but like I'm about to bring like him totally like he since like he would be totally right while playing with Gillian, he would be knowing that this would be like the point where like he would be parting with like Sangyeon as well as like his mother for good, like basically that he will never be able to like see neither Sangyeon or his like wife, like basically wife or his wife. So like definitely the number of people like the old man with dementia saying a lot of things that his like younger days to Sangyeon while playing this precise Squid Game, Marvel Squid Game is like the scenario that I'm looking at. And like I'm looking like the scenario, although definitely my perception for like the scenario would be even more likely scenario that I'm considering is more like the old man dementia, like I'm considering like Sangyeon, like switching into my perception that like the old man dementia initially totally that purposefully trying to lose like Sangyeon. At that point, Sangyeon only getting angry with like the old man dementia, telling him that the old man that basically the best player should win. So like he should give it his absolute everything. So like with that like Sangyeon getting angry towards like the old man, like the old man initially trying to force himself to like actually use his like proper skills, and that way like the old man like maybe getting a few marbles, like very few marbles from like Sangyeon, but then the old man simply won't be able to bring himself to like basically actually defeat Sangyeon at all. Like so like Ambassador like instead totally using like kind of like a strategy where like Ambassador like the old man dementia totally putting on a fake act as if like the dementia effects was kicking in, and like Ambassador like the old man totally putting on a fake act as if like he has lost his memory. It's like the scenario that I'm considering. And that way like the old man taking total advantage of that fake act to like basically purposefully induce against like Sangyeon. It's like the scenario that I'm considering. And I'm considering like Sangyeon to like right now I'm considering like Sangyeon possibly the Sangyeon possibly like not realizing this that like he was like purposefully like I'm considering right now Sangyeon to at that point to like totally believe that it was like actually dementia happening to like tournament. But like I was saying, like through the interactions that like the old man will be having with like Sangyeon, they were by playing the game, like I was saying, like Sangyeon remembering that like eventually it's like the remembering like the thing he said like not just things he said during that game, but like everything he had said from like the very beginning. Like Sangyeon eventually like remembering that like, and I was bring Sangyeon most likely remembering that precisely during like while reaching like the fifth good game, like while the fifth good game would be revealed. At that point is when I was bring like most likely Sangyeon would be like as well as Sangwoo would be like simultaneously realizing that like the person running like this game would be most likely uh, like their childhood friend, or like maybe like the father of their childhood friend along the line. And it would be at that point that Ambassador while this game would be revealed that like Ambassador like Sangyeon would be like shockingly realizing that basically the old man was dementia was in fact like Sangyeon's father, and he had purposefully lost like it wasn't like dementia effect happening, like she had like actually consciously purposefully lost to like Sangyeon solely to like save Sangyeon during like the first two game, like Sangyeon realizing, shockingly realizing all this at that point, only like by the sixth games, like the scenario that I'm looking at. That was the impression as for like the fourth good game between like DXO and like his like team member. Definitely perfect like both of them giving it their absolute everything to win, and I'm also like DXO who they totally getting angry and frustrated, but like his teammate as like he would be like totally putting his like absolutely everything into like the Marvel Squid game, and I'm also wondering like there have to be that tight competition between like TXO as well as like with like team member, and I'm also wondering like towards the end of like the Marvel Squid game between like TXO and him, like I'm also wondering like TXO like luck totally favoring TXO, and due to that absolute luck, like I'm also wondering like TXO ending up getting that final point eventually from like just like but preferring at that point for there to be like a tight competition, like still I'm preferring eventually totally like totally favoring DXO, and like consistently like favoring DXO with like DXO one by one getting all the marbles, getting like successfully winning games, and like getting all the eventually getting all the 10 marbles from just like team member, and that way like DXO surviving, definitely surviving is like the scenario that I'm looking at. And then as for like the pair of like the husband and wife, like I'm considering their good game team, like I'm considering like definitely protecting like the definitely protecting like the husband to definitely purposefully lose to like the wife, and that way him like while dying like that way saving his wife is like the scenario that I'm considering. And as for like Sadio and like the other and her female, like that female member, like I'm considering in their marbles again, like I'm considering like definitely like that female member, like she would definitely be deep down having affectionate feelings and not just crush, but like serious affectionate feelings as well. Might have maybe like my was impression as for like the Squid marble Squid between like Savior and her female team member, like I'm considering like definitely that female team member would definitely be having deep down having affectionate feelings. Might have already developed like affectionate feelings towards like Savior that ambassador like her to totally purposefully lose against like Savior. It's also like the scenario that ambassador and that was Savior ending up being able to like proceed to surviving is like the scenario that ambassador while like the other female member would be dying at that point. It's like the scenario that ambassador and as for like the Fluminense impression as for like the Marvel Squid Game between like Sangu and Ali as well. Like I was putting like in each of the Marvel Squid Games, like I was it's only putting a lot of interaction between them, like totally unrelated to the game. Like I was putting there have to be a lot of interaction where like by the time like Savior would be winning that Marvel Squid Game against like uh, the female her female team member, like basically by the time she would be winning, like she would be realizing that that she like her team member has like affectionate feeling towards her, and due to that, like she has purposefully decided to like lose against like Savior just so that like Savior could survive. Like Savior realizing that by the time that Savior would be like winning in that Marvel begins, it's like the scenario that I'm going to bring in. In the case of like Ali as well as Ramos, like Marvel again, like I'm definitely for like Ali, like their interaction would be definitely Ali precisely with that absolute gratitude, like always having that absolute gratitude towards like Sam would definitely and considering Ali would be like always even in the current situation as well, Ali would be having even with like Ali having like his family, his wife and daughter like basically still considering like Ali to certainly be of like the mindset that basically not the mindset, but like I'm considering like even though it will be extremely hard for Ali, I'm considering like while playing like the Marvel game with like Sangwoo, I'm considering like there being that interaction where like Ali will be like eventually telling Sangwoo to like win to definitely win the to definitely win like the Squid Game and basically once Sangwoo gets all that money to like basically give at least like a quarter of like since it's like the money like so he's like I'm assuming like already maybe even going along the like to the extent of even telling Sangu that like that maybe I'll even telling Sangu that Sangu could can keep like the majority that that Sangu doesn't even have to like share half of the money because of it like so much money. So like I'm assuming like maybe I'll even being empathetic and going to the extreme extent of even telling Sangu that like Sangu only needs to like Sangu definitely needs to win like the full game and basically once Sangu wins it and gets all that money like just give like a quarter of like the prize money like uh to my family like that way like Ali like telling Sangu and I'm also trying like definitely Sangu definitely to say totally ambassador like even though it will be kind of hard for like Sangu still ambassador like Sangu would be like not nowhere near as empathetic as Ali. So like ambassador still Sangu definitely deciding to like with that absolute at that point like Sangu would be definitely okay with like Ali dying definitely even though it would be hard like still Sangu would be definitely prioritizing himself surviving more than Ali at any cost. It's like the scenario that I was looking. Yet like I was looking Sangu keeping that promise, making that promise to like Ali and keeping that promise to Ali that basically Sangu would be winning like the prize money and like he would be Sangu totally making that promise to Ali that basically he would be totally winning like the game and like he would definitely be and Sangu and considering totally would be totally feeling grateful to Ali at that point that like Ali is like letting Sangu win like the first two game. It's like the scenario that I'm given that like I'm given Sangu is totally promising Ali that basically he would like it wouldn't just be possible like that like he would win like and win all that prize money and he would give exactly the half of like the prize money to Ali's family. Like that way, Sangu making that promise to Ali, like the scenario that ambassador on the topic, and that way Ali dying by Sang would be moving on and surviving. Just like the scenario that I'm delivering. So my movie impression as for like the Marvel Squid Game between like the other two remaining members of like Sang team in like the tug of war, like those between those two Squid Game candidates, like Ambassador definitely like the one who praised a lot. Like Ambassador like the scenario to be like most likely in like both of them competing between each other to like the fullest like the scenario that Ambassador in. Neither of them like uh, uh, willing to like not give up or like let the other person win is like definitely not happening. Is like scenario that Ambassador, and so like both of them like competing to their absolute maximum, and Ambassador like eventually like the that precise thinking candidate who praise a lot, like Ambassador like most likely him like eventually ending up surviving in the marble for the game while like the other person will be dying is like the scenario that Ambassador only bring another thing. The human was very oppression as for like the boss who's like the running like the entire skill game like Ambassador definitely to think about the person that like he would be like the childhood friend of like the old man with like dementia, and definitely him right now putting up like the fourth good game to be such to basically in such a manner to be precisely with this like conscious decision to precisely ensure like the old man with like dementia with like childhood friends. So again, so he might have had like that absolute jealousy against like for like the old man with dementia even during his younger days and in his childhood like always winning while him on the other hand would be always losing like no matter what games they would be playing. So that right now the fourth Squid Game even being set up in such a manner would be precisely the conscious decision of like the boss, like the person running like the Squid Game to ensure that like the old man with like dementia dies in like the fourth Squid Game. It's definitely my very ambitious. So like different like we might not only like while setting up like the fourth Squid Game in such a manner like precisely after the death of the doctor like different like maybe like precisely after like the death of the doctor like the number of Squid Game candidates being odd number like at that point I'm different like the person running like, the Squid Game like the boss running Squid Game might have seen this as like an opportunity to like have like the old man with like dementia die uh, uh, to take the life of like the old man with dementia. It's definitely one of the dream religion. So like he might have like the boss like the person running like the Squid Game might have maybe like initially it only expected like the old man with like dementia to like die in like the red light, green light Squid Game itself. So like I was since then like I was when seeing like the old man with dementia succeeding like the succeeding like winning like the Squid Game like one after another like basically that might have uh, like uh, that might have made him like the boss running the Squid Game might seeing like the old man winning each and every single Squid Game after like the first Squid Game might have reminded him once again of like his like days from like the childhood which he might have been desperately trying to like forget through getting a revenge on like government dementia. But like I'm even like the seeing like government dementia winning like two games one after another, like it might have once again created that absolute frustration within like the boss that like the person running like the game is definitely my big impression of him always like during like the childhood and during the younger days of him always losing to like government dementia. It's definitely my big impression. Like my personal impression that like the boss who's like running like the skill game like in while watching like the old man with dementia win like the red light, green light big game, like he might have been frustrated and like then he might have only expected like for like the old man to like lose in like the second Squid Game. But like on seeing like the old man winning with the second Squid Game, like he might have been even more frustrated and he might have been totally hoping for like the old man to lose at least in like the third Squid Game and even the like the old man like even winning like the third Squid Game as well that might have totally infuriated and frustrated like the boss that would be running the city into the extreme. That ambassador like he might have decided to like play just he might have decided to like precisely when he might have found out about like the whole situation with like the doctor uh dying and all that. Like at that point might be like the point when he might have decided to like precisely switch up. Like maybe like I'm referring to the market game might be like might not be supposed to be like actually supposed to be like the first good game is definitely not the frame rate. But like I was saying like it might have been precisely switched up to being like the fourth good game, especially according to like the order of like, the boss running is good game. for him to like solely play the cheat trick of taking advantage of like basically the doctor's death, so that like that way with like the entirety of like the Squid Game candidates being collectively like being in an odd number, so that like he might not only set up the ultimate trap for the poor old man with like dementia, for him to like certainly end up dying. Like he might have set up like the post Squid Game as like such a marble Squid Game, so that like basically even if like that like Gganbu brings the boss who's like running like Squid Game, he might not only expected like absolutely no one to like choose like the old man with dementia for to be a pair, and that way to take the life of like that way for like the old man to to like might have been what he might have expected, but like then even then like I'm like the that was might have even considered the more possibility of like even someone selecting like the old man with dementia to be a pair. So like even in such a scenario to ensure that like the old man with like dementia doesn't survive and wins like the post good game as well. Maybe like there's a reason for like the post good game being like the marble good game right now. It's definitely my thoughts reemerging. So it might be solely due to that the boss was like running like the good game having reached that extreme key point of like infused of rage and like frustration and everything. See like the old man with dementia like consistently like overcoming all odds and like basically winning each and every single Squid Game is definitely one of the and that like he had to he that like it should be certainly because of that reason that like the boss who's running like this Squid Game might have played such a cheap trick to ensure that the old man with dementia definitely dies in like the first Squid Game. Might have been what might have happened is definitely one of the like basically in short, like none of the impressions that like the fourth Squid Game, like the Marvel Squid Game would be like the Squid Game that like precisely specifically set up right now at this precise current time period, like right now specifically set up by like the according to the decision of like the boss who we are running like the Squid Game precisely solely targeting like the old man with like dementia. It's definitely my personal impression. Like the thing is the impression right now that's not like the odd and even like Marvel Squid Game like between like Sangu and Ali Amber Super like even though Ali doesn't know what odd or even Amber Super still Amber Super like fully from like the game perspective Amber Super like totally for luck to be in like Ali's favor and Amber Super like the scenario to be like and they totally winning against like Sangu, like the scenario that I was win. But like the scenario that I was winning is especially while Ali and Sangu he playing the Marvel Squid game like I was winning, like it to go on for a while and I was winning like to get you in like the game worker for the like monitoring like the game between like Sangu and Ali and was like him to get distracted. So like I'm was trying to precisely at that point that I'm was like Ali will be ending up winning like the winning like the fourth Squid Game, Marvel Squid Game, like or even Marvel Squid Game, like against like Sango's like the scenario that I was doing. But like at that point, like and at that point, Ali would be like even understanding that he has won like that game. Yet like I'm considering like Ali totally showing that absolute empathy towards like Sangu and considering like and Ali totally even while Ali has like a family and considering like Ali quickly that Ali would be like most likely considering like quickly before like the civilian worker would be like uh, at that point the coincidentally the civilian worker will be like getting distracted and looking to the other side for a brief moment and that would be the moment when Ali would be like winning and getting all the 10 marbles. So like about for like Ali uh, won't be even taking like the like 10 marbles from Sangu. Even before that like I'm when Ali quickly giving Ali realizing that he has won, but like Ali at the same time itself like quickly before like the before like this game was up looking to their side like I'm bring Ali quickly giving all of his like marbles quickly to Sangu like the scenario that I'm bring. And Ali would be like yeah, and that way to totally save Sangu, like Ali totally doing that. It's like the scenario that I'm describing, and Ali would be totally telling Sangu that like you definitely have to win, and basically right then itself I'm also putting like the stadium worker like turning to the side of Ali, turning set to the side of like Ali and Sangu, like and at that point in noticing in Ali's hand like they're not doing any marbles while so like at that point itself like he would be like aiming at Ali and right then, like I'm doing right before Ali dies, like I'm doing like Ali shouting out to Sangwoo to like basically like to along the lines of like I leave my family to you along the line something along the lines of like Ali shouting out to like Sangwoo and like I'm like probably by that before like Sangwoo could like say it back to like Ali that basically that like this like Sangwoo would be saying it definitely would be that like I promise that like I would like look after your family, like Ali, like would be along the lines like Sangwoo would be like about to like shout back at Ali, but even before that, like I'm assuming like Ali would be died by the that Squid Game World Cup, like the scenario that I'm something and my brother certainly my brother impression right now as for like the old man like searching for the house in like the fourth Squid Game area, like those were like definitely that definitely won't at all be his like dementia effect like happen. Definitely that would be like the old man putting on a fake act of like him having memory loss right now. It's definitely obviously my definitely my brother impression. So like I'm also bring definitely like the old man with dementia like his confidence would be right now his confidence would be like as long as like even if he doesn't play like even if like the old man's confidence would be that even if say it doesn't play like a game of marbles still as long as like all 10 marbles are in the track that like Trangion is holding like as long as like by the time like the 30 minutes will be over like until that time like as long as like once like the 30 minutes will be over if like the track containing like all 10 marbles if like Trangion position then like Sanjon life would be spared and basically then Sanjon would be surviving and proceeding to like the next game and like the old man would be dying would be what like the old man would be totally assuming certainly my memory impression so like the old man finish it he would be like okay straight away assuming that like it would be perfectly okay even if they doesn't play like the if, even if like they doesn't play like the game of marbles we what we would be thinking is definitely my good reimbursement. So like I'm preferring like still like that exactly to happen as well. It's definitely my good reimbursement. Like until like the old man would be totally thinking that like until the 30 minutes will be over, like he will be totally planning on putting up it's like fake act of like memory loss like the scenario that I'm totally bring and like I'm bring like the old man that totally refusing to like play the game of marbles until like the entirety of like the 30 minutes is like the scenario that I'm bring and I'm bring like eventually I'm bring like Trangion as well like totally giving up and I'm bring like the old man telling old man I'm bring totally finding just like the area where his house is like I'm like the old man totally finding that in that box to game location as well like the scenario that I'm bring and totally sitting there and like Sangyon would be like totally trying to like make the old man play like the game of marbles, but like he would be totally refusing and continues to like fake acts of like dementia. And like I'm about to bring that him to then start telling stories to like Sangyon, stories and things like because like he will be absolutely certain of like his incoming death, like I'm about to bring like him totally saying the last things that he want to tell his Sangyon like before his death, like basically. So like him telling a bunch of things about like his younger days and his childhood to Sangyon, while ensuring to not reveal to Sangyon that he is like Sangyon's father, like the scenario that I'm sitting on to remember. So Sangyon slowly, like totally as well, Sangyon as well giving up eventually, and then Sangyon listening to his like stories and like eventually like the 30 minutes being over and straight away like the studio worker taking the life of like the old man with like dementia is like the scenario and I'm considering that to totally traumatize Sangyeon even though Sangyeon would be still not realize not be aware that basically he the person that had died is like Sangyeon's father like still considering that Sangyeon still being like traumatized from like that bond she has so far been formed between Sangyeon and like the woman with the name Chess definitely not good friends so like definitely I'm protecting that Sangyeon only being traumatized and even crying with like the scenario that I'm describing. So that's with the reaction right now with like the second Squid Game being like had a connection to like the old man with dementia, like his memories from the younger days as well as like the old man of dementia him having a revealed about like him having a connection with like the tug of war third Squid Game as well. And right now even saying like the post Squid Game as well, like basically the post Squid Game area as well being like the area around with like near to the smoke and it's basically everything. And then was doing like collectively with this like consistent connection to like the old man with dementia, possibly like by now like also like the possibility that like the old man with dementia having maybe even figured out like as to like what's happening with like the studio as to like who's like the person behind like the studio as like who is like the person running like the studio maybe like the old man with dementia right now as he's like searching for his home within like the Fort Squid Game play area like I'm like he might have already figured as to like who exactly is like the person that's like running the studio. This is also definitely my book impression. So like I was different maybe of like a remote kind of like a possible scenario where like I was different like especially when like the 30 minutes would be over for like the Marvel Squid Game and like precisely as like the Squid Game worker would be showing up and basically standing in front of like the old man and aiming at like old man like right before like the old man would be dying. And maybe him looking at one of like the cameras, CCTV cameras, and basically him basically maybe shouting out a name. Maybe like not shouting out, but like him just saying a name while looking at a CCTV camera, and that would be like the name of the boss of like the front man, like basically the person that's like running the entire stadium, like I'm maybe like the old man, like saying his name just took names before she realized like that basically through by looking at like the camera as if to like just give that message to like the person, the billionaire who's like running like this game that like the old man before he died he knew like he understood that like basically as to like who it is that that's like running like the entire game that like it's like you it's that perfect childhood friends of like the old man with like dementia who always loves to like the old man with like dementia that then like him like the Squid Game was his revenge. The fact that like the old man realized all this before he died, like they need to send this message to like the first billionaire who's like running like the entire Squid Game, like basically and possibly the old man's dementia before he dies, like doing such a thing and like basically staring at like the looking at the camera, CCTV camera, and like saying like the names of like the billionaire who's like running his good game. Like any eventual possible scenario that I'm going to roll like another great. And at that point, like I'm maybe like the billionaire, definitely the billionaire who's running like this good game would be like totally watching that. So like him seeing like the old man. He would be totally looking forward to like seeing like the old man with like old like whom someone whom he would be having extreme jealousy of like just like forced out of jealousy towards like basically someone who he would like badly wanting that basically as he would be looking forward to like the death of like the old man with dementia like exactly such a twist happening and I'm both like him totally being shocked that basically like the old man with dementia like even at his age like basically had figured out that it was him the person behind like the game like basically him being shocked in like the person running the game being shocked at that point it's like an individual possible scenario that I'm going to bring and like the remaining everybody, all the other Squid Game candidates being confused as to like what the name the old man said before he died as well. It's like the winter scenario of like a possible scenario that I'm going to bring and I'm going to bring. The corruption things like each player has like a set of 10 marbles in their sack and like the aim is to like get all the 10 marbles from like their pair like I'm going to bring like so like definitely my very impression right now as for like how exactly like the old man with dementia would be like ensuring that Sang Yeon would be winning. Like definitely that's like the scenario that I'm looking and as to like how he would be ensuring that like I'm also like to like keep up with like dementia fake act. It would definitely be a fake act and I'm also connecting only finding his like home in that what's the game area and I'm also connect there like the old man like sitting there like in front of his like home area in that what's the game areas like the scenario that I'm looking and there like him sitting down somewhere there and I think like Sangyeon will be like I can telling Sangyeon to like twist inside him and like I'm like him telling a lot of stories to like Sangyeon and by telling all this story to like Sangyeon would be totally seeing this as basically like Sangyeon won't be like able to like listen at all to his story. Like even though Sangyeon would be hearing like the things like the old man would be saying like none of it would be like going into like Sangyeon's like memory. Like Sangyeon won't get or be able to like pay any attention at all because of like the situation being so intense with like the clock ticking and time running out. So considering like Sangyeon maybe like usually feeling as if like basically uh so like I'm wondering like maybe Sangyeon deciding to like eventually Sangyeon deciding to like maybe to give up and maybe die along with like the old man. But when Sangyeon even then like desperately telling the old man didn't try to like play the game, but like I'm wondering like Sangyeon eventually feeling as if like the like actually believing like the fake dementia act of like the old man, and I'm also like Sanjum genuinely thinking that like the old man is like actually having this like dementia effect kicking at that precise moment would be along the line Sanjum would be genuinely believing. So like at that point Sanjum would totally think that like Sanjum wouldn't be able to like bring himself to like basically forcefully feel like the sack of like 10 marble from like the old man, and that way to like basically push like the old man to that like basically Sangyeon won't be able to like bring itself to something like that. So like I'm assuming Sangyeon deciding to like Sangyeon totally falsely believing at that point that like the old man genuinely has this like dementia kicking in. So like I'm assuming at that point Sangyeon totally deciding to like die along with like the old man as like very few time would be remaining, and like the old man will be continuing on with his like story. It's like to Sangyeon. It's like the scenario that I'm observing. So exactly while like the time, and I'm observing like precisely while the old man would be like sitting beside right beside Sangyeon and saying all the stories. Like I'm observing like the old man stealthily like placing his like sack of like 10 marbles, stealthily putting it into like Sangyeon's pocket while telling the stories like the without Sangyeon realizing that it's like the scenario that I'm observing. So like especially time running out, and like Sangyeon would be like at that point ready to like pay for stuff. But like at that point, I'm considering like the old man totally the Squid Game worker showing up in front of like both Sangyeon as well as like the old man while they would in front of like the house of like the old man in that for Squid Games area. So like yeah, like I'm considering right when like the Squid Game worker really showing up in front of Sangyeon and like the old man showing his hand, and basically both of his hands would be like empty. So like at that point, like Sangyeon would be totally confused, and like the uh and like I'm going to bring like Sangyeon at that point like totally would be confused, and at that point like the old man telling Sangyeon to like maybe check his pocket or something like basically, and at that point like Sangyeon like basically realizing the old man's like 10 set of like sack of like 10 set of marbles up were present in like Sangyeon's pocket the entire time. So like Sangyeon, at the moment Sangyeon will be pulling that out, like pulling that sack of 10 marbles out of his pocket, like on top of like the other 10 set of marbles on like Sangyeon's hands. Like at that point, like when the game after only seeing like Sangyeon uh, like two sets of marbles, 10 sets of marbles in like Sanjos, and at that point itself, I can something like the Suriya worker like aiming at like the old man with like dementia, and straight away he would be like the scenario. And I'm also definitely like the old man with dementia would be having his like last word, and I'm also like for it to be either like the name of like the childhood friend of like the old man with dementia, the boss who's running like Suriya, or like I'm also like it would be something to specifically to like Sangyo, specifically to like basically something that's like would be like he would be trying to like indirectly show his like affection to Sangyeon, especially because of like him, like the old man wouldn't want Sangyeon to like realize that he is Sangyeon's father, especially solely due to like maybe Sanjay's mother in like Celestian past, like having told like the old man, maybe like definitely specifically my father remember that like the old man might have in like the younger days might have had like the betting habit, which might have also been formed due to like most likely the childhood friend of like the old man, like exactly like in Sanjay's case, but Sanjay had a lot his like proper job that he had maintained for a decade. Like I was saying, like the old man had as well in his younger days might have had a job like it as well might have he might have totally lost due to like the inner workings and plays of like this precise person who's running like this game to eventually lure the old man as well into like the trap of the Squid Game. It's definitely one book. So like it might have been after that, like basically the old man might have started his like betting. He might have started betting like after that, like and I was going that way like all the money of like the of his wife, like Sanjo's mother, like might have lost her, like he might have maybe gotten divorced or like he might have left him, and basically he might have told him before leaving him, like the one thing that she might have told him would be to like never the old man with dementia, like basically staying true to like that disaster and that wish of like his wife Sanjo's mother, even to like his last breath and him not him indirectly like saying something that would be like him expressing his like love to like Sangyo as like a love as his love as like a father to his son Sangyo. Yet him saying it in such a manner that like so basically so that like he would be trying to like ensure that Sangyo won't be able to like find out or realize that like he's Sangyo's father. So basically, that's like the other possible scenario like for like the last words of like the old man with dementia before he dies. It's like the other possibility that I'm listening. I'm like the play by the impression right now with like the person playing like the marble game with like TXO right now having like 15 marbles already like the TXO so only having like 5 marbles left like and TXO wanting to like change the game like definitely the scenario that I'm observing right now to happen. I'm definitely nothing definitely the other person member to protect him definitely not agreeing at all to like it so wanting to like change the game and I'm also like right now like I'm also like for leads to like totally I'm also like right now like the Squid Game worker who will be like monitoring like the will be observing like the game between like tier two as well as like the other person like he's would be like right now temporarily like be distracted at this very moment is like the scenario that I'm looking like so like I'm looking there to totally noticing that and I'm looking there to quickly taking deciding to like take advantage of that situation and I'm looking there so quickly snatching like the fact of like 15 marbles that like the other that the person whom with whom Jesus like playing with like 15 marbles and was different contained in that fact like I was very quickly the actual snatching that and I was different like the actual straight away uh, getting up and basically straight away telling the Squid Game worker that basically he has won, he has got all 20 marbles. Like they just straight away saying that, and I'm also bring like the Squid Game workers, and right then I'm also bring like the person telling like the Squid Game worker that no, they so had cheated like they like I had the lead with like 15 and like the game was over like they so was like totally cheating like I'm also like him trying to like convince like the Squid Game worker, but like that's not happening. Like the Squid Game worker just like on seeing like the two and like I'm remembering him telling like trying to tell like Squid Game worker that they have to snatch like like sack of 10 marbles and all that like but like I'm remembering like the Squid Game worker still not being convinced and I'm remembering like the Squid Game worker just straight away like taking the life of uh, that precise person with whom like they so was playing like his time in such a manner like the scenario that I'm remembering and that way they so cheating his way into like winning like the fourth game like the scenario that I'm remembering right now I'm remembering. So definitely not the very impression as for like the woman who initially had a crush on DXO. Like they believe that woman even though she couldn't find a parent, she was taken away by multiple game workers. Like I'm considering like she would definitely be surviving. It's definitely my very impression right now. Like I'm considering so different her to like totally survive. And I'm considering like the scenario most likely being like her being taken away by those multiple after like her being taken away by those like multiple game workers. I'm considering like also, currently, what might have happened would be that she might have somehow succeeded in like tracking those Squid Game workers, and I'm considering like maybe like considering like maybe like the multiple Squid Game workers had taken her away, like I'm considering maybe like then from a different location, I'm considering like only a single the gym worker might have been that assigned with like the duty to like take her life, especially because of the scenario that I'm looking while like the other gym workers might have left straight away. So, like at that point, she might have totally tricked that Sugin worker and like she might have totally escaped into like this air ventilation network in like the ceiling. Like I'm looking like she might have somehow gotten into that like a ventilation and network, and I'm also like she for her to like survive by escaping into that ventilation network in like the ceiling is like the scenario that I was doing, and I was around bring for to be like a huge network, and I was bring like that Indian worker who was in charge of taking the life of that woman, that I was like him totally deciding to like keep that a secret from like the remaining Indian workers, is like the scenario that I was bring, and I was like maybe him deciding to like so the thing like luckily for her like the precise person that would be like studio master who would be like monitoring like the CCTV in that precise of that precise room area, like maybe he would be at that precise moment would be constantly would be like turning his head away from like the screen precisely constantly during that time, especially on the press, and that would during that brief moment like I'm she might have only escaped into like their ventilation like the scenario that I'm so like I'm considering maybe that could game worker like deciding if you would be at that point to be totally afraid that basically if like the frontman even finds out or like any other superior student uh, worker like basically even finds out that he has because of him like basically like the figure candidate that was like that basically he was assigned to execute had basically escaped like the other his superior finds that out, or like the frontman finds that out, like basically the possibility of like them straight away executing him, like that there might be that fear within him. So like I'm also like him deciding to like totally keep it a secret from like the remaining civilian workers, and him totally hoping that basically the person monitoring like CCTV potentially during that moment might have totally missed that. Like because like I'm also it will be like totally happening in a good manner. Like I'm also like him being assigned to like execute that woman, and I'm also bring like it will be within like just a few seconds. I'm also bring like how quickly tracking and folding that Julian worker and quickly escaping through like the ventilation pathways which will be present in that in the feeling like I'm considering like to get to that feeling like I'm considering like the room would be in such a manner that like where she was might have been in such a manner that she might have been able to quickly get to that feeling is like the scenario that I'm considering. So I'm considering like through that ventilation pathway, like she might have only escaped, and since it might have like no, it might have not take great many seconds for her to escape into like that. To since like way too many seconds might have not passed, so since like her freaking like the studio worker and like escaping to the ventilation pathway, like the studio worker would be totally hoping that it release about the monitoring like we not having seen that, and I'm that exactly it to end up actually be the case as well as like the scenario that I'm doing. So like that uh, woman student uh, candidate I'm possible like escaping through like the ventilation in like the ceiling, and possible like through that network like figuring out all sorts of secrets about like the game building, and maybe even through like the ventilation even reaching like the location within like the studio building where like she possibly would be even seeing the VIPs as well, the VIP guests as well, will be watching like the studio games and everything. It's also like an individual possible scenario that I'm only buffing. So to like go like the ceiling ventilation network pathway like not only seeing like the VIPs but like also seeing like the infiltrator like UFO as well. It's like the scenario that I'm buffing and I'm like definitely I'm very ambition right now as for like in like the map the game like right now Sang would say even and straight away like Ali has showing like a disturbed face and worried face would be precisely due to lack, precisely lack. Sang once again getting his lack call wrong. Lack and considering that can be it will be precisely odd number of like marbles in like Ali's hand, like the scenario that I was bringing. That would be like the first reason for like the worry in that and disturbance in like Ali's face would be precisely the worry and disturbance like towards like Sangwoo solely because like already Sangwoo having very few marbles and Sangwoo might have better place like the bet on like maybe not one but like two, even while Sangwoo would be having very few marbles and so maybe like Sangwoo having bet on maybe still not one but like two marbles. So like the possibility that I'm offering. So like Ali would be totally worried for like right now for like Sangwoo uh, right now rather than for Ali right now. It's definitely my preference. So like definitely my preference right now with like Sangwoo down to like a single marble and like Ali having seen that and Sangwoo uh, the extreme fear of that causing Sangwoo to like shout at Ali and Sangwoo totally losing it like I was suffering as well as like the Squid worker pointing like the gun at Sangwoo. Like I'm putting still like right now the scenario that I'm putting right now is definitely for like idea right now. Like the Squid World Cup, especially since like the Squid World Cup has been or just like I'm putting like the Squid World Cup. It could be obvious for like the Squid World Cup that basically even though Sangwoo has like a single marble left, like I have seen that like definitely that Sangwoo has like totally lost. Would be the thing that like the studio worker might have realized totally and like would be about to but like him pointing like the gun at Sangwoo like I'm putting like the studio worker would be like about to take Sangwoo's life, but like I'm putting at that very last second, Ali telling like the studio worker to like stop. And Ali, for Ali, like at that point, telling the studio worker that like the game is still not over. Like I don't have all the 10 marbles in my possession. Like that would be along the lines I'm basically like for Ali telling like studio worker. And Ali telling Sangwoo that basically that continue playing. Like that's like the scenario that I'm observing. And at that point I'm observing Sangwoo even losing it even more and Sangwoo totally thinking as if like Ali would be totally mocking Sangwoo. So like I'm observing Sangwoo even shouting even more at Ali. And like Sangwoo would be totally absolutely good thing is that basically Sangwoo would be totally going crazy because of like extreme fear of death with that Sangwoo at that point would be seeing absolutely no hope and no future left for Sangwoo other than the incoming death. But like I'm preparing like and Sangwoo would be the only thing that Ali would be about to like with the next gameplay like Ali would be about to mock Sangwoo before Sangwoo dies like would see along the line Sangwoo would be thinking but like I'm preparing like Ali and in the next gameplay like I'm preparing like Ali making Sangwoo, and at that point would be that Toffee like would be going crazy, and Sangwoo would be like showing his like single marble and like telling Ali that like Sangwoo's like that he's like betting on his like single marble, like basically showing everything to like Ali in a mocking manner. Like Sangwoo would be mocking Ali at that point. Because like Sangwoo would be totally going crazy at that point. It's like scenario that I'm observing. And at that point, I was referring like the poor Ali that basically that pulling out all of his like 19 current 19 marbles out of his sack and holding it with both of his arms. And basically, like I'm was referring like the 19 marbles. I'm was referring maybe like Ali won't be even able to like close the 19 marbles with both of his like arms. And I was referring Ali like Ali is totally with like theory is like telling like Sangwoo to like make the call. So like at that point like bring like Sangwoo straight away quickly making the call. At that point I'm about to bring like Sangwoo would be totally shocked as well. Like the moment like that's like the scenario that I'm about to bring. Ali would picking out like 19 of his marbles and in front of it while ensuring that basically that like Sangu sees all that and basically would be holding it with like both of his arms and like he wouldn't even be able to like close his hand or cover like the entire arms at all like and that would be like Ali fought consciously letting Sangu win and Ali die for just so that like Sangu could live. It's like the scenario that I'm observing, and while Ali would be holding the entirety, putting in like the entirety of like the 19 marbles into his like palm, and would be holding those entirety of like the 19 marbles in his palm, and asking at that point, Stefan Position Sang will be shocked at like the realization that what exactly is Ali is trying to do at that point, and I'm Position like Sangu, we are like quickly making the call. Uh, that it's like odd and basically straight away. like Sangu getting all the 20 marbles and straight away like the Squid World Cup, like taking the life of like Ali, like the scenario that I'm about to break. So like right before that, Ali would be like just be able to communicate and tell that thing that basically he should like win that. The last word of Ali most likely that Sangu should win like the Squid Game for family, like basically, such like simply just a few words before like usually Ali's life would be taken by that the place Squid Game World Cup at that point. It's like the scenario that I was bringing at scripting on the number three impression. Which is second of my talking three impression that like the old man with dementia right now has this like finally being forced to like basically play like the marble game with like Sangyeon like basically with his like ways of like seeing four or five like basically keeping such a huge wake up. Definitely I was thinking to my brother Emerson, it would definitely be like a fake dementia acting. It's definitely my brother Emerson. Like initially, like the old man with dementia might have thought like felt that basically by not playing like the he might have initially planned to like not play like the marble game with like Sangyeon and like just before like the time would be over for like the old man to like quickly hand over quickly force Sangyeon to like accept his like 10 his sack of like 10 marbles for him to like give that to like Sangyeon and to say Sangyeon might have been his initial plan, but right now I'm positive like with him being forced to play the marble game like he would be like right now definitely the old man would dementia in his life. I'm considering like this would be like the point. This would be that point in his life where like he might have never in the old man with dementia never in his life would have been this nervous or like this scared is definitely my total ambition, precisely because of like this game deciding that because this game, this being a game where like he simply where it's not that easy to like even allow like Sangyeon to win. Like basically, certainly there that um, that like an element of like a bit of like an element of uncertainty in this game. Like I'm looking like the old man with like dementia right now the feeling that basically him accidentally even winning like the game. He would be doing his absolute best to like lose to even right now to like lose to like Sanjong, but like he would be right now having that absolute extreme fear that basically even if him accidentally even making a mistake and accidentally ending up winning this game would end up with like him he would be like would end up with like the situation where like he of him his son Sangyeon like someone who's like so precious to the old man with dementia would be totally so extremely precious to like the old man with dementia. Sangyeon like dying by the hand due to like the old man with dementia. That it would be like even worse of like such an extremely scary uh, thing of like an extreme guilt for like the old man with like dementia to live with like so that would be way more scary for like the old man with dementia than like dying in this like fourth good game right now. It's definitely my preference. And this would be that point in like the old man with dementia's life where like he might have never in his life might have been this scared. It's definitely my personal impression. Uh, and my personal impression right now in like the marble game with like Sangyeon, like the old man with dementia, his like plan right now would be that basically he would be right now would be only genuinely feeling that basically Sangyeon finds out that like if, like about like his dementia act being like a fake right now, that his current dementia act being a fake, then like Sangyeon won't be allowing him to like purposefully lose to like Sangyeon. So like I'm basically that would be what like the old man right now would be thinking. So like I'm basically because it is like highest priority to like ensure not only ensure that Sangyeon wins, uh but like he would be also saying that to not for him to like be able to have Sangyeon win like this marble game, like he would have to like also ensure that Sangyeon doesn't find out that his uh, uh, and find out about his like current fake dementia acts. Like Sangyeon would have to like he would have to like ensure that what Sangyeon right now genuinely believes that like the old man currently is in his like memory loss situation, like basically that belief remains in Sangyeon until like the point where like it might seem to like Sangyeon as if like the old man lost due to just like dementia in the current game, Marvel game. Like this would be like that plan of like the old man dementia. So like this would be the precise reason for like the old man right now. It is like marble game. So like Sanjon him putting a wager that's not so extremely big, so that to like basically make it that much obvious to like so that like to avoid Sanjon from feeling any sort of suspicion in like the old man's like fake dementia. Is definitely what may be happening right now. It's definitely the remember. So like I'm wondering like him like putting wagers that are like big enough but not extremely big enough to like create suspicion within Sangyeong would be like what he would be planning right now. And his goal would be to like eventually government's plan would be to like play like the marble game in like a convincing enough manner, yet like while simultaneously ensuring to like quickly as possible reduce like with like big enough a betting like big enough a wager like basically for him to like quickly be able to like reduce the marble tension consequence to like a few digit number so that like and then to like basically pull out that number of like marbles out of the track while asking Sangyeon to like make the call in such a manner that like Sangyeon will be able to like see as he pulls out and hides that final set of marbles in his like palm so that like Sangyeon will be precisely able to make that final call correctly, that final order even fall correctly so that like if he would precisely so that like at that point like Sangyeon after if Sangyeon sees like ends up seeing like the final set of like marbles that like the old man would be hiding in his like palm, then like definitely the old man would be totally expecting like the temptation to be like far too much for like Sangyeon to like not purposefully lie and basically make a wrong call. So that like the old man will be totally expecting Sangyeon at that point to like make the call he had seen like the old man hide in his like palm at that point. So that like Sangyeon would be able, so that like the old man that way would be able to like let Sangyeon win and that way Sangyeon live without Sangyeon realizing the old man was like putting this entire time was like putting in like the possibility of was like putting like the fake dementia act is like so that like Sangyeon was totally thinking that like the old man had lost due to his like dementia. This would be like the plan of like the old man with dementia right now. It's definitely one of the impression. Like definitely one of the impression right now with like Sangu like saying sorry to like Ali crying and maybe saying they this voice it's like family and all that. Like basically it looks to be all like Sangu like that extreme fear of death. But the point definitely causing Sangu to like basically like Sangu would be like well fully aware as to like how extremely simple and pure Ali is. So like emphasizing Sangu is like totally trying to take advantage of that innocent and pure nature of like Ali to like totally trick Ali into basically agreeing into die in the place of Sangu. This would be exactly what Sangu would be right now attempting through his like tears and everything is settling on his friend. Like, yet like emphasizing like Sangu when going through such extreme extent obviously could be only solely due to that extreme fear of death that Sang would right now have would be having right now, would be experiencing and going through right now. It's definitely my personal and definitely everything that definitely also my personal that Sangu by now would have totally changed like after like definitely meeting Ali and basically uh, about like one like team while Sangu had teamed up with like as before entering like the fourth game like this when Sangu has told Ali like about like teaming up and basically with the prize money like basically like equally dividing it between them like what that like Sangu might have is genuinely absolutely genuine about like dividing all that prize money with Ali and that way them being able like say the families and everything like that definitely also different like Sangu in those kind of might have definitely not been lying at all to like Ali and might have been definitely genuine about like sharing like the price money equally. It's definitely my preference. Yet like about the things currently right now since like the situation is like Sangu being so being on like the verge of death and there's a thing right now that would be like a sole reason that would be like pushing Sangu to like basically to totally take advantage of like Ali pure and like innocent nature and basically to totally manipulate Ali into like basically dying in the place. of Sangwoo, which is what I'm personally definitely predicting to like exactly happen. It's like the scenario that I'm considering and definitely like through the current interaction, like seeing the tears of Sangwoo and I'm considering definitely Sangwoo that calculatively saying each and every mentioning each and every single points like I'm considering like Sangwoo talking about like how Ali had in like the past had told how grateful he is to like Sangwoo and basically how about like the money and everything like how much like Ali was grateful about towards like Sangwoo and all that and now it's like Sangwoo like totally in a cunning manner like saying things in such a cunning manner that like Sangwoo would be saying that like would be might not be directly saying it like but still would be like ensuring that Ali feels that basically now would be the best point for like Ali best point or like best point for like Ali to like repay back with like extreme gratitude towards that extreme gratitude of a feeling that Ali was feeling towards like Sangwoo like that now is like the time to like show that gratitude. Basically Sangwoo would be crying and basically doing all of us crying in and in such a manner that like Ali feels that like to ensure that Ali feels in such a manner and that way to trick Ali into that time in Sangwoo's place. That kind of was hoping that exactly to happen and I was hoping definitely it's just sticking to my personal impression that like Ali would definitely be dying in the place of Sangwoo is like my personal impression. So like I was also definitely not personal impression right now it's definitely thought like Sangwoo's like whole action of like this make of like real manipulation of like Ali into that way forcing him to like die in the place of Sangwoo like basically the act of that Kangoo that absolute guilt is definitely going to set in for Kangoo. Like even when nothing I just that's like I'm considering like that I'm considering that to totally on Kangoo. It's like the scenario that I'm considering and it like all of that extreme guilt could be like something like even more extreme disturbance within like Sangwoo's mind even like way more disturbance than like some we would have ever felt into like entire life. Even after entering the institute, this would be like the highest point. Like after like I discussed like that is something to be like the highest point. And from that point on, like the disturbance and also bring like one and the disturbance of that absolute guilt not like letting go of like Sangu from that point of like the scenario that I'm also bringing. Sangu at that point would be like only like drowning in that absolute guilt and like the only thing in Sangu's mind at that point would be to like the only Sangu at that point would be think that like the only way he would be able to like make it up for Sangu is only thinking come to that realization that he would never be able to like add for like Sangu and also brings it to at that point is that he would never be able to like make it up for Ali. Yet like I'm also thinking Sangu feeling as like the only things he could like adduce to in if there's like anything that he could do for like Ali would be to like basically ensure that he win the Squid Game not for himself but even more than and I was putting that to be like the scenario like basically eventually Sangu having that extreme change in like yeah at that rate I'm looking like Sangu from that point on that extreme change like changing Sangu's character and I was Sangu like facing like the upcoming games with like that extreme absolute determination to like basically not give up at all and to ensure that he wins each and every single upcoming substantive game and to win that prize money so that like just so that like the first thing he would want to do would be to like even before giving money to his own family. Like I'm considering even before that, like I'm considering like the only thing in like Sangut's mind at that point being to like as soon as possible go to the uh go to Ali's family and like give them the money. This so that just so that like he would finally be achieve the relief at least to a tiny bit of like an extent of the like extreme guilt that would be haunting him even at that point of like the scenario that I'm also totally bring and I'm definitely protecting Sangwoo to like either survive like the Squid Game as well along with like Sang Leon or like I'm also bringing Sangwoo dying in like the fifth game. So like if Sangwoo dies in like the fifth game, like I'm also thinking like Sangwoo definitely survive before him dying like I'm also thinking like Sangwoo like would be to see totally. confessing everything to like Sangyeon. The moment like right before like Sang will be dying, like he will be confessing everything about to like Sangyeon. The fact that like Sangwoo himself basically wanted Sangyeon to die at some point. That Sangwoo had basically purposefully hidden things from Sangyeon in like the earlier Squid Game, in the beginning stages of like the Squid Game. To that way increase the chance of like Sangyeon ending up dying, and basically uh, the fact that manipulation of Ali, like all of that, like I'm also feeling like Sangwoo totally confessing to like Sangyeon at that point, right before Sangwoo's life would be taken by the security locker. Like also like a possible scenario that I'm also bring. So like right before Sangwoo would be dying, like Sangwoo would be telling Sangyeon, passing on to like Sangyeon and telling Sangyeon that basically that you should definitely win like the Squid Game, and in my place you should totally give like a good portion of like the prize money uh, to Ali's family, like basically that way like Sangwoo dying is like one perspective that I'm agreeing, and Sangyu are totally agreeing, and like the scenario that and yet like even after all this, like I'm definitely still into my impression that like definitely the Victoria and right now is that like number one, which it has a lot of relevance, and the next that's relevance and importance to keep continuing on to the future as well. It's definitely one of the famous. And number one, like the jersey number of like the red uniform of like whole man, like one being like the current marble that precisely Sangu have in his possession. One being like the precise marble that basically Sangyeon right now having in his possession after like losing so much to like the old man. I'm considering right now for like a parallel kind of like the situation happening right now with like Ali right now, that after like the whole sentimental manipulation of like Sangu, Ali asking Sangu what to do. I'm considering like most likely right now that the end scenario being like precisely as time would be about to like precisely as like very few minutes would be like left. I'm considering like the scenario to be like a parallel kind of a scenario where like where like Ali would be like Ali would be like the tears in her eyes, like I'm when Ali holding on to like the entirety of the like marble, but like both of it like palm. Ali won't be able to like close his palm because like of like the 19th marbles of like the scenario that I'm doing. Ali holding that 19th marbles in his arm, like tears in his eyes, and I'm also bring like the on the other hand, like I'm also bring like the parallel happening with like the simultaneously a battle happening with like the old man with like dementia, like him basically holding his current 90 like marble in his like farm as well. Him as well not being able to like close the marbles because of like 19 marbles. Like it's like the scenario that I'm referring. And time about to be over, and basically both the parallel happening with like both Sangu as well as like Sangyeon, and like basically simultaneously saying that basically like the odd like the scenario that I was doing, both Sangu as well as Sangyeon saying odd, and that way like Sangu getting all the 20 marbles from Ali, and Ali dying, and like Sangyeon simultaneously getting about the 19 marbles from like the old man, and like the old man as well right away dying. Is like the parallel kind of like the central scenario that I'm also remembering, and my working remember. And my working remember is as for like the scenario that I'm also remembering is while like the parallel happening while like Ali would be dying with like Ali would be only having tears in his eyes, but like while like the old man with dementia, like he would be dying, like he would be having that bright white smile because like he would be like relieved at that point of like the scenario that I'm looking for, because he was able to save Sang Hyeon. Like he might have been like this game of like the fourth game might have been like the biggest like most scariest point in like the entirety of like the life of like the whole man like dementia until this very day. It's definitely one of the remembrance. So like he would be feeling that absolute relief when he would have finally succeeded in his like intent to like basically have Sangyeon win like the box to game, and for him to die in like so that like Sangyeon would like live and survive and move on to like the game. And definitely my personal impression that like the old man with dementia, he will be having that absolute confidence in his son Gion being like the winner of like the Squid Game. It's definitely my personal impression. So like while he would be dying, like he will be having that dying with that absolute confidence that basically San Gion is definitely going to win like this Squid Game uh and make or it's like the scenario that I'm really bring and my personal impression. Yeah, definitely my personal impression right now is like on top of like Sangwood, like sentimental manipulation of Ali. Even on top of that, like right now with like Sangwood also manipulating Ali in such a manner as to feel like the whole winner concept, like they the next set of like manipulation by Sangwoo will totally turn Ali into a fool. Like I'm considering definitely by like the precise moment when it would be time for like Ali to die. Definitely right before Ali dies, like Ali would be straight looking into the eyes of Sangwoo. It would be at that moment of right before Ali would be dying that Ali would be like at that point at that very last moment of realization, I'm definitely pressing the scenario to be Ali straight away, sharply looking at Sangwoo's face and at Sangwoo's eyes. But like Sangwoo simply won't be able to, like Sangwoo would be totally looking down. Sangwoo won't be at all able to like look Ali in the eye at that very last moment before Ali died. So only due to that extreme guilt, like the guilt would be far too much for Sangwoo that uh, like the guilt being too much that I'm considering on top of guilt that I'm considering maybe like Sangwoo then feeling a lot of shame as well towards himself. It's also like the scenario that like I'm considering Sangwoo simply won't be able to like look Ali in the eye at all. Precisely at the very last moment, right before Ali dies, is like the scenario that I'm making of the impression right now. So definitely my popular impressions were like once like the old man with dementia will be eventually dying in like the fourth Squid Game, like I'm personally definitely putting like Sangyeon to like abandon. Sangyeon to totally abandon his like 456 uniform, green uniform, and like Sangyeon would be like switching that with like the old man in his memory, like I'm remembering like Sangyeon would be totally switching to like 456 uniform and like putting on like the number one uniform. It's like of like the old man. It's like the scenario that I'm preparing. From that point on, I'm preparing towards like the fifth and sixth skill game that I'm preparing definitely the entire time. Like after like the old man does like I'm definitely preparing like from that point on till like see the eventual end of like the entire series and of the thing like Sangyeon to be totally wearing that number one green uniform of like the old man is like the scenario that I'm going to be like another friend. Limit the story impressions that like that the point of like the eventual death of like the old man dementia and like the first game would be marking that drastic point of like where like that extreme drastic change I'm going to totally happen to like Sangyeon and I'm going to like the uniform switch, which I'm also putting Sangyong to do from 46 to like the number, to changing it to like the number one uniform. Like I'm considering that to be like uh, I'm considering like that eventually ending up being like symbolic representation to like the uh, to, uh, representation of like the change that would be happening to like Sangyong after like the old man's death. Definitely my famous and Sangyong, someone who was like the fourth of physics, the last question representing like Sangyeon, like basically life where like absolutely nothing was like going right for Sangyeon at all in his life to basically like from the point of like switching like the positive uniform to like the number one uniform and considering like from that point on like things to like slowly start to change and think like even while being in like the middle of like dangerous big game like still about to bring like uh things to like from that point on like things to like slowly start to end up coming right for like Sangyeon like things slowly starting to like work out for like Sangyeon in his life and it's like the scenario it's like the scenario that I'm going to bring like that for switching of like the uniform which I'm supporting Sangyon would be doing at that point to totally be reflecting and having an impact into like Sangyon's like life as well, like the way Sangyon's life was from like the way Sangyon's life would be after like changing after like putting on like that number one team bonus sector and like the scenario that I'm going to bring another Korean version.